Welcome back for another episode of Charlie Brown Politics. As you might know, I am Charlie Brown, the host of the show. Today, let's talk about the new Green Deal. We've all heard about it. We've all kind of thought about it. But what is the Green New Deal? What does it consist of? Who and what politicians are supporting and pushing this new Green Deal? And you know, I want to get into some of the issues that I didn't necessarily know that were around when I first heard about this, because like you and many others, I myself, supported the new Green Deal when I first heard about it. Renewable, clean energy, stopping less pollution in the air and the carbon emissions. All this, sounds great at face value, but when you kind of get into the thick of it and actually look at some of the details of it, some of these details might surprise you. So with that, just keep that in mind. I want to bring up a video of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So if you got your vomit bags, keep those handy. If you got your anti-nauseous pills, nausea pills, go ahead and pop those, and we're going to go ahead and suffer through this video, but it kind of gives you just like a little bit of an idea of the Green New Deal, what's happening with it right now, and who's behind it.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey, and it's just such a special day when we're able to come together and reintroduce our legislation. And every time we reintroduce the Green New Deal, we're always met with additional legislation to expand this vision and execute for environmental and social justice in all forms of policy, because the climate crisis touches all forms of policy and all forms of our life. I want to thank Senator Markey, the Climate Justice Alliance, the Indigenous Environmental Network, the Green New Deal Network, SEIU, the AFA, CWA, and New York Renews, as well as all those who are working at the local level to bring the Green New Deal to their communities. Just a few years ago, when we introduced the Green New Deal, we were told again and again, this is not realistic. This is unreasonable, that this is just a pie in the sky notion, right? But we said, watch us work. That's okay, watch us work. And as they say, as the adage goes, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then we win. And that, in a nutshell, is a big part of what we've experienced over the last couple of years. First, we were called unrealistic. Then, when it came time to the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, we started to fight. We said we are not going to take crumbs, and we're not going to settle for that we need bold, big climate action, and we need it now. And that fight resulted in the largest piece of climate legislation in American history. In American history. That is because of the coalitions built that are not just supporting the Green New Deal, but supporting all climate action across a broad progressive spectrum. This coalition of grassroots people and everyday people deciding to make this a political priority is why we are getting the results that we're getting today. We said, watch us work. And we didn't stop with the Inflation Reduction Act. We decided to exploit and use every single avenue possible to make this vision a reality. What we saw was over 60 community project funds, over, I believe, $100 million, where we decided to organize, and members of Congress deployed community project funds to create over 60 Green New Deal projects launching nationwide, starting just 1 or 2 years ago. This vision is becoming a reality. Watch us win.
All right. I know. I'm sorry. I had to make you watch all that, but it's over. So what's the point of that? So the point is that the Green New Deal, it sounds good on face value, but we have to start paying attention to who's supporting the Green New Deal. It's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And how many of us out there trust her, think that she's actually fighting for the good of people? So that's red flag number one. Okay, so let's talk about some of the goals of the Green New Deal. So one of the goals is to stop fossil fuels by 2030, or I believe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, hers is like by 2050, something like that, right? They want to, lessen the carbon footprint, and switch everything over to renewable and electricity, switch the power grid over. And so, like I said, at first, I thought all this was a great idea. So, so we have to ask what is going to be the cost and the materials that are going to go into doing this type of switch to our power grid and our infrastructure. And so, what a lot of us don't know is that these solar panels, these wind turbines, these electric cars, they take, the electric cars, for example, a lithium battery. A Tesla holds about 140 pounds in lithium in its battery. And so, where do we get lithium from? Well, usually it's some poor person in like Africa that has to mine it for pennies on the dollar and unsafe work environments out there with no shoes and flip flops. And there's pictures of people with babies on their backs out there with a pickaxe and children out there. And of course, these fumes are toxic from it. And so we have to start to ask what's the true cost of this. And a lot of these things take precious, rare minerals and metals from the earth. And these minerals and metals are harder to extract and mine, more than just what we're already doing to the planet. And this isn't to say that I think we should keep cutting down the Amazon and keep polluting. No, I'm just trying to ask what is the real answer to our pollution problem and the destruction of our Earth. Yes, green energy sounds good on its front, but we have to start asking the true cost of it. So I have a magazine article that I'm going to read through. It's from Commune Magazine. It's Between the Devil and the Green New Deal. And here we have a picture. And this is a place in somewhere in China. I forgot the exact location. Forgive me. And it kind of shows it shows the destruction of these mining for these rare earth minerals and what it does. And in this picture, you can kind of see what looks like a little lake. Well, this isn't a lake where fish and frogs and snakes all live happily. It's a toxic lake. It's so toxic that nothing can. It's where they have to dump their waste, and all their waste has collected and piled up and made this like little cesspool, right? So let's get into this. All right. To meet the demands of the Green New Deal, which proposes to convert U.S. economy to zero emissions renewable power by 2030, there will be a lot more of these mines gouged into the crust of the earth. That's because nearly every renewable energy source depends upon non-renewable and frequently hard to assess minerals. Solar panels use iridium, turbines use neodymium, batteries use lithium. All require kilotons of steel, tin, silver, and copper. This renewable energy supply chain is a complicated hopscotch around the periodic table and around the world. To make a high-capacity solar panel, one might need copper from Chile, iridium from Australia, gallium from China, and selenium from Germany. Many of the most efficient direct drive wind turbines require a couple pounds of rare earth metal, neodymium, and there's 140 pounds of lithium in each Tesla. It's not for nothing that coal miners were, for much of the 19th and 20th centuries, the very image of capitalist immiseration. It's exhausting, dangerous, ugly work, lay Varro, the voracious one. That's what Emilia Zola names the coal mine in Germinal, his novel of class struggle in a French company town, capped with coal burning smokestacks. The mine is both maze and minotaur, all in one, crouching like some evil beast at the bottom of its lair, puffing and panting in increasingly slow, deep bursts as if it were struggling to digest its meal of human flesh. Monsters are the products of Earth in classical mythology, children of Gaia, born from the caves and hunted down by a cruel race of civilizing sky gods. But in capitalism, what's monstrous is Earth, is animated by those civilizing energies in exchange for these terrestrial treasures. Use power to change, use to power trains and ships and factories. A whole class of people is thrown into the pits. The warming Earth teems with such monsters of our own, making monsters of drought and migration, famine and storm. Renewable energy is no refuge, really. The worst industrial accident in the history of the United States, the Hawks Nest incident of 1930, was a renewable energy disaster, drilling a 3-mile-long inlet for a Union Carbide hydroelectric plant. 5,000 workers were sickened when they hit a thick vein of silica, filling the tunnel with blinding white dust. 800 eventually died of silicosis. Excuse me. Energy is never clean, as Muriel Rukeyser, makes clear in the epic documentary poem she wrote about Hawk's Nest, the Book of the Dead. Who runs through the electric wires, she asks. Who speaks down every road? The infrastructure of the modern world is cast for molten grief. Dotted with death villages, where crops will not fruit, the region of Inner Mongolia where the Bayu Obo mine is located displays Chernobyl-esque cancer rates. And the place that they're talking about is the picture that we showed at the beginning of the article. I guess that was a place in Mongolia, and I'm not going to say the name again, but it's talking about how it, looks terrible. Let's continue. But then again, the death villages are already here. More of them are coming if we don't do something about climate change. What matter is a dozen death villages when half the earth may be rendered uninhabitable? What matter the gray skies over Inner Mongolia if the alternative is turning the skies an endless white with sulfuric aerosols at last-ditch geoengineering scenarios? Imagine. And right there, they're talking about some of the ideas that are being proposed to fix our climate change problem is like spraying particles in the sky, geoengineering, that type of stuff. So let's continue. Moralist, armchair philosophers, and lesser evilists may try to convince you that these situations resolve into a sort of trolley car problem. Do nothing and the trolley speeds down the track towards mass death. Do something and you switch the trolley onto a track where fewer people die, but where you are more actively responsible for their deaths. When the survival of millions or even billions hangs in the balance, as it surely does when it comes to climate change, a few dozen death villages might seem a particularly good deal, a Green New Deal, a New Deal. But climate change doesn't resolve into a single trolley car problem. Rather, it's a planet-spanning tangle of switchyards with mass death on every track. It's not clear if we can even get enough of this stuff out of the ground, however, given the time frame. Zero emissions 2030 would mean mines producing now, not in 5 or 10 years. The race to bring new supply online is likely to be ugly in more ways than one, as slipshod producers scramble to cash in on the price bonanza, cutting every corner and setting up mines that are dangerous, unhealthy, and not particularly green. Mines require a massive outlay of investment up front, and they typically feature low return on investment. Except during the sort of commodity boom we can expect a Green New Deal to produce. It can be a decade or more before the sources are developed, and another decade before they turn a profit. Okay, so that was just kind of going into a little bit more of the cost of these resources that a new Green Deal, would take from us. And we have to ask, what are these costs? would it be less detrimental to our environment, or is the actual cost of it more impactful? Where we have to, make more of these places like that photo that we saw in Mongolia, where the land was just completely devastated. They had, these lakes of toxic liquid. You can't even call it water. I don't know what you would call it. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these places are going to exploit people even more. These corporations are probably going to have people work for on the dollars, for a penny on the dollar, unsafe work conditions. We've seen pictures all over the internet, probably having children working in there, whatever, And so usually when this happens, it's always the poor and the vulnerable that get exploited in this, and that is exactly who the Green New Deal is claiming to, protect and support. And so I do feel that it probably started with good intentions, but now that it has been co-opted by people like the AOC, if you go on the WEF, the World Economic Forum's website, and just check out the new Green Deal, you can like type it in their little search thing on their website. They got like 12 articles that come up talking about all the different plans and shit and methods that they're using to implement this. So when the elites start taking over this movement, it starts with an environmental movement. We have to be skeptic of it. And let me reiterate, I don't think that cutting down the Amazon is a good idea. I don't think that polluting our earth, dumping plastics into the ocean, all this stuff is terrible. And I am a small farmer, okay? And I practice, regenerative farming practices. I raise, butcher, and take care of meat chickens. I've been doing it for a number of years. I'm someone that has my hand in the ground. I talk to actual farmers. I'm in the farming community, so I am 100% environmentalist. I understand the complexities of it, and our local farmers that are pretty much the bitch boys of Monsanto at the moment. So the Green New Deal, is it talking about how the military industrial complex is the world's number one emitter of carbon emissions? Is it talking about the agricultural company? And I'm not talking about local farmers, okay? I'm not talking about my homies down the street with 100 head of cattle. Okay, I'm not talking about them. Those people are being forced to do farming practices that they don't even like or want to do, but it's the most profitable thing, and Monsanto has the government under their freaking thumb, and also has the farmers under their control, because that's the only way they can actually be profitable. Then we're getting off subject here. So the Green New Deal, we have to be asking, what are the actual costs of this? To convert every car in America to electricity, and then guess where we get most of our electricity? It's from burning coal, and natural gas. So what are the real answers? The more I look into this, the more it can get confusing, and just it's there's a lot of shit to pile through, and I'm doing my best, and I've read a lot, done a lot of research on it, and like I said, I am a farmer, so my life is intermingled in the in the environment with nature, and so it means a lot to me, and I want to know what the actual cost is of it. And so, gosh, I had another video that I wanted to show you, but for time's sake, we're going to go ahead and skip that, guys. Tell me, what are your thoughts? I want to do some more videos on the Green New Deal, on climate change in general. Can the Earth really handle fluctuating temperatures? These questions take a lot of time to get into. I am starting to lean that the Earth can actually handle temperature changes more than what we previously thought. I get that from people like Randall Carlson. But these debates, these questions, we should not be shunning people for asking them. I am not a climate change denier. I do think that people have had an effect on this earth, but our answers to fix the pollution problem, the destruction of our environment, cutting down trees and forests, obviously all needs to be stopped. And the idea of green energy is nice, but what is the true cost of it? We got to be asking these questions. I'm seeing the Green New Deal pop up on other independent left media shows, and they're not asking these questions. And it's not because they're part of the WEF and a part of this conspiracy of the new Green Deal or whatever. No, it's just I don't think that they've had these questions, this information brought to them, and they just haven't thought about it, just like so many of us haven't. So yeah, that's just my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions. I'm sorry this one ran a little long. Tell me what you're thinking. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that. And with that being said, I will catch you on the next episode of Charlie Brown Politics, guys. Later.